Well, we are now into our second week of a trial dubbed one of the biggest antitrust cases ever. That is the United States versus Google. The tech giant is being accused of gaining market dominance through a series of coercive contracts, making it the default search engine on millions of devices. The company says it's being punished for its success. In these early stages, it's hard to predict which side will prevail. One way to read the tea leaves, though, is to look at the pages of history. In one case, often described as the biggest antitrust case ever. Here with more is Alexis Keenan. You've been talking to some antitrust veterans. How do they see the Google case?
Yeah, so I've been talking with attorneys on both sides of that AT&T case. It ended in a settlement that broke up the telecom giant. And one of those is Philip Verveer. And at the time, he was a 30-year-old Department of Justice attorney. And he's the one who drafted this case and eventually led it against AT&T. Now, what he says is that that case, as well as the case that the Department of Justice brought against Microsoft, are similar. And they're instructive to how this case might turn out because they are all vertical foreclosure cases. And what that is, it's an attack on companies that have used their vertical integration of companies, of services, in order to foreclose on competition. Now, in AT&T's case, of course, that was local and long-distance service as well as phone equipment. In Microsoft's case, that was their ownership of Internet Explorer, the browser that they then incorporated with Windows. But it's a hard win still for the DOJ here in antitrust because since that time, since the AT&T case, the law has really narrowed in its interpretation. And so the environment, Verveer said, is really different here, and that will present the DOJ with a challenge. Also, on the other side of the aisle, I talked with another attorney, Carl Hittinger, and he was representing AT&T at the time. He said, look, if there is antitrust violations found, that fine, but that the knee-jerk reaction should not be to go in and remedy the problem by a breakup as what happened with AT&T. He said that judges, the attorneys, that the public should caution against that being the logical solution for whatever problem in antitrust might be found through this trial.
And Alexis, let me ask you a quick question. I mean, this is, listen, this is a case the street investors are paying very close attention to. What's the timeline here, Alexis, for investors?
Yeah, so this trial is slated to go 9 weeks. I've heard anything from 7 to 10 weeks. That puts us well into a couple months from now. On top of that, we don't know how long the judge will take to make a decision. This is a bench trial. It won't be decided by a jury, but that's not necessarily going to make it go any faster or slower. Then on top of it, you have to consider that if there is a loss for Google, that there will be an appeal in this case. So this could go on well into 2024. And then on top of it, you have a separate DOJ case that would be playing out in the Eastern District of Virginia, and that has yet to get underway into a trial. That one's a jury trial. So investors have a lot to watch in this next, I would say, coming year, and so far not really showing up in the numbers and the way the stock is trading. But I think that as we get closer to hearing from this judge, we might start to see some action there.